John, tag. You're supposed to run after me after I touch you. You can't. That's not how tag works. The way you're playing.
It's a regional thing. I'm playing Midwestern rules.
Oh, I should have known that. Okay,
Yeah.
my bad.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Hey, speaking of Dave, with Memorial Day coming up,
yeah.
I'm guessing you're probably getting ready for plenty of fun days in the sun.
Oh, my gosh.
Am I right?
First, I have to learn these rules for tag. But yes, everyone knows this, John. Everyone knows that time in the sun is best enjoyed with a pair of shades that you don't have to baby.
Oh, yeah.
Knockaround is the original affordable sunglasses company, and they've got just what you need for Memorial Day weekend, MDW, for those of us who celebrate all year, and all the way through summertime.
They do. And with over 20 different frame styles, there's something for the whole family, including tons for kids.
So, whether you're looking to rock a pair of red, white, and blue shades for the big weekend or just to restock your collection before summer gets here, Knockaround has you covered.
Now, Dave.
Yeah.
Did you know that all their lenses have UV 400 protection, which is basically like sunscreen for your eyeballs?
Oh, man. And I've put copper tone just right on the old ojos, and it burns.
It's
is
not
burning still to this day.
Yeah,
That
well,
was
you keep
15
putting
years
it
ago.
on.
Well, it's a habit. With polarized adult pairs starting at $28, you can get a few pairs to leave in your car, toss in your beach bag, or lend to a friend in need.
You know, Dave, where I come from, Memorial Day weekend means it's race day.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and there's no more important place to have some shades than outside at the track.
Oh, yeah.
If you've heard me say that once, you've heard me say that a million times.
It's on your front yard.
I think I might actually just buy a pair of knockarounds in that color.
Yeah.
Like in the color of each car, actually.
Yeah.
And then switching back and forth based on who's leading the race.
I love that. That's one of the best ideas you've ever had.
So listen, Dadville fans, take that idea and run with it. Also, don't be the one squinting through family beach days or trips to the park. Go to knockaround.com and use the promo code DADVILLE15 for 15% off your order.
That's DADVILLE15 for 15% off your order at knockaround.com.
I just said that.
Hi, I'm Dave Barnes.
And I'm John McLaughlin.
And welcome to Dadville.
Dadville's a podcast where we talk about life, love, and the pursuit of awesome dadding.
It's funny thoughts and deep talks.
So please, enjoy your time here in Dadville and enjoy this episode with...
Rebecca Lowe.
Dave and I have something that's very important to us. Okay?
Wow.
It's that the supplements that we take are of the highest quality. And that's why, people, for many years, we have both been drinking AG1.
Yep.
Like it's our jobs. All right? Unlike many supplemental brands, AG1 is researched and developed by an in-house team of scientists, doctors, nutritionists with decades of experience in their respective fields.
That's right, John, which I don't say a lot. So many people have asked us if AG1 is the real deal, and trust me, there's a reason why we've been doing it for so long.
Oh, my. One word, Dave.
What?
Quality.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
For AG1, it's not just a buzzword.
Nope.
I say that all the time. It's a commitment backed by expert-led scientific research, high-quality ingredients, industry-leading manufacturing, and rigorous testing. I'm talking the rigor on these tests.
Everybody sweats doing these tests.
At each step of the process, AG1 goes above and beyond industry standards.
We know we can trust what's in every scoop of AG1 because AG1 is NSF certified for sport, one of the most rigorous independent quality and safety certification programs in the supplement industry.
That's right. Taking care of your health shouldn't be complicated, people, and AG1 simplifies this by covering our nutritional bases and setting myself up for success in just 60 seconds.
John, AG1's ingredients are heavily researched for efficacy and quality, and I love that every scoop also includes rhodiola and B vitamins for energy support.
I love that stuff. We've partnered with AG1 for so long because they make such a high-quality product that we genuinely look forward to drinking every day.
So if you want to replace your multivitamin and more, start with AG1. Try AG1 and get a free 1-year supply of vitamin D3 plus K2 and 5 free AG1 travel packs with your first subscription at drinkag1.com/dadville.
That's drinkag1.com/dadville.
So this is John. Well, I don't know where he is on your screen, but John
He's at the bottom.
The other
I'm Dave's friend, John. Is that confusing?
And that leaves me
John,
being Dave.
Brilliant. I thought I had it the right way around. Okay.
And John is usually in his studio, but he's currently mid-tour out in beautiful Carlsbad, California, rocking the mic, rocking faces. So he's coming in.
So normally my voice is going through a very expensive microphone, and it sounds a lot better. So I apologize.
Well, at least you're not using your phone across the way from somebody tiling. So it's
it's gorgeous.
That's all right.
Listen, Rebecca, I got to tell you, this is a big moment. This is a big moment for me. I mean, I forgot I even had this on my Arsenal gear. Forgive me. I just was out in the yard. I was just out in the yard, just chatting with neighbors, and looked down and thought, I've even got my scarf on.
For the listener, Dave has his Arsenal kit on.
Yeah, look at you,
jersey.
Look at you with your English
and the scarf.
Yeah.
It's all here.
Yeah. Very proud. Very proud. I feel very at
well,
home.
thank you. I just want to say my neck's too hot, so now it's gone. that accoutrement is gone. No, I'm so thrilled that you're doing this. I can't tell you how big of a fan our family is. We're big RL fans. We are. We love. I mean, our natural rhythm on a weekend, on any weekend, is to get up on Saturdays. And, the games are on. You're up there just being so joyfully English and guiding us through the wins and losses of the year. And so when we knew you were coming on, I told the kids this morning, like, do we have any questions? And they were like, I don't know, Dad, I'm too nervous. I was like, just think about them. Get Mom to text me. So this is a huge deal. Thank you for making time.
Of course.
And coming on.
No, it's my absolute pleasure. Absolute pleasure.
So okay, so let's do a little bit of we call this the brag sheet, Rebecca. This is like this is your life, and I had to actually edit stuff out because there was so many things. This is like a trophy case. Okay, so from England, as everyone can tell by her dulcet tones, which by the way I have to say, our mutual friend Lucy Silvas sends her love.
Love
so Lucy literally was on the podcast. She was over here in my studio. Last week, John?
Crazy.
Just last week, yeah.
Yeah, she's one of my best friends in the world. And,
I think we should switch to exclusively interviewing British women from now on. It's so much more enjoyable than what we've been doing.
Blonde British women. Brilliant.
That's it.
Blonde British women.
Well, immediately, everybody just sounds so much smarter than me and John, so that's probably not great.
I know, I love it. God. I mean, they did before, but now even more so.
But Lucy was over, and I've had a lot of moments of jealousy because living in Nashville doing music, and I've always got friends meeting other people, and or opening for somebody or meeting somebody on the road. You're always like, and when Lucy posted the picture of y'all hugging, I just was like, okay, this is too many things that I'm feeling. But we did. It's funny. Me and the boys snuck into I'm just admitting this on air, which is probably wrong, but I just like an idiot. My kids were on me about getting tickets when y'all came here because we're in Nashville.
Okay.
And
how did
they're like,
Dad, what happened?
Well, listen what happened.
Okay.
I really think God intervened in this because my kids were so mad at me.
Here. Okay, carry on.
My kids were livid because they were like, hey, Dad, you got the tickets to the Premier League live in Nashville. And I was like, okay. And I got online like 2 days before, and of course they were gone. And I just thought, I was like, I'm going to have to tell these boys that their father has failed them, and then I'm going to hear Cats in the Cradle in the background. It's going to be a whole thing. And so I was like, I don't know what to do. I start texting friends. I'm like, does anybody have tickets? And then I found out, well, like, you can't transfer tickets. And so I literally was like, guys, I sat down with them, 6th grade, 1st grade, and I was like, guys, look, we're just going to brave it. We're going to get down there. We're going to use any charm we have. I've got money I'll throw around. I'll take my shirt off. But that's it, just the shirt. And so we get down there, and sure enough, like, we get to this woman, and it was one of the most fortuitous moments because we get to the line, and I had friends text me and say they're not really checking that. They're just kind of letting people in because it's not too full. So I get down there, and when I get there is right before the Arsenal game, and so it's starting to really pick up. Yeah. And so I get to the woman. I've got my 2 sweet boys with me, and she's like, okay, just need your tickets. And I start doing that thing where I'm like, oh, yeah. And where are those? She's like, it's in the app. And I'm just like, oh, gosh, something happened right now. And so I'm like, oh, the app. And as I do this angel woman walks over and she's like, oh, are these 2 boys with you? And I was like, yes, ma'am. She goes, well, let me just get their bands. When I get over with her, she gives them band. Then I was like, oh, I didn't get one either. She's like, oh, and then we walked in. And I was like,
wow.
I'm so glad security was so tight. Excellent.
Well, I know. I did. I was like, I benefited from the lack of
security. There was probably
like
a small group of nuns that didn't get in that day.
Yeah.
It was their one field trip out of the monastery.
All they wanted was to see wolves play. Yes.
It was a pilgrimage. Yeah.
So rude. So rude.
But anyway, that was a diversion. So anyway, here we are, Becca. Okay. This is your life. In 2002, she won BBC's Talent Search for a Football Reporter, which is such a specific talent search, by the way. I've never heard of such a specific talent. And then during her time at the BBC, she appeared on Final Score, Football Focus, Match of the Day, Grandstand, BBC News 24, BBC Radio 5 Live, and BBC Breakfast. And I'm realizing now, and John, you can back me up on this. This is just the first line. But for those who are American listening, football in England is soccer. And so I know most people know that, but just I don't want people thinking, man, she's in the NFL. She's into the... Okay, so was a pitch side reporter for the FA Women's Cup final from 2003 to 2005, moved to ESPN in 2009. Is that when you moved to the States?
No. I didn't move to the States till 2013 when I worked for NBC. I was working for ESPN.
For NBC, okay.
ESPN UK,
okay. There.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. And became first woman to host the FA Cup final. Come on. In 2013, she became the lead studio host for NBC's coverage of the Premier League, and that's how we all know and love her. And that's necessitated the move, I guess. Named Newcomer of the Year in 2013 by Sports Illustrated, was the daytime host for Summer and Winter Olympics in 14, 16, 18, 20, and 22, and soon to be 24. I mean, come on. And then also hosts both The Lowdown with Rebecca Lowe on NBC and After the Whistle, which I know is sort of a seasonal podcast with Brandon Hunt from We All Love Him, Ted Lasso, also an Arsenal fan, which is a grech podcast too. I mean, here we are, Rebecca. We are here. I'm excited. I'm sweating, but it's an excited sweat. Which is the name of my funk band in high school. So I have a billion D questions for you. Okay. I have so many. I'm going to try to condense them. But the first one, the one that I really am the most fascinated with, as a Crystal Palace supporter, right? You are someone who...
the expression on your face.
By the way, I think y'all are flying, pun intended, right now. I think
great.
Bright future. Yeah, great future. How in the world? I think about this every time you come on. I'm like, you're a genuine supporter of this club, yet you have to be unbiased. You have to sit and, after a loss, you have to just pretend like nothing happened. How do you do that?
Okay, so it really helps when I'm not in the studio. So when they beat Man United on Monday, I was not at work. So that was an absolute blessing. So I could run around the house and scream. But to be honest, it started, my first experience of it, I was about 25, and I was at Crystal Palace against Charlton for BBC Final Score, which is a non-visual show in England, which is on a Saturday afternoon. There's a host in the studio with some ex-players, and then they go out to different grounds when there's a goal and get updates. And Palace were playing Charlton, and we got relegated after that game. We had to, I can't remember what happened. I think it was a draw. We had to win, and they scored in the final minute, and they came to me live as the final whistle went. And I was like, I was a baby, really. I was 25, and I did this report, and then as soon as I came off air, I just cried. I just sat in my seat at the Valley, Charlton, and cried. Now, thank God I didn't cry on air. Thank God I didn't cry on air. But to answer your question, it is not easy. I think it would be harder if I was a fan of a massive club, because I'd have to talk about them all the time. I'd have to... You're much more... I get criticised every week on social media. Oh, you're a Liverpool fan, you're a Tottenham fan, you're a Man United fan, which just really makes me laugh. Or you hate this, or you hate them, or you hate them. I'm like, oh, guys, I literally hate nobody. I only love one club. But if I have to talk about them every week, like you do tend to with like the Arsenals and the Liverpools and the Man Cities, I think that would be harder, because I think I would be more exposed as having... a fandom of that team, and I would find my questions harder to think about. So I already do. Like, if Palace pull off a crazy win, I'm very much double checking myself. It's like we're like seconds away from coming on. It's the end of the game. The scene's on the pitch, and I'm like saying a couple of facts, and then I'm like, okay, imagine this was like Southampton. Or imagine this was West Ham. What would you say? Right. So what I think ends up happening, guys, is I think I actually go too far the other way. I think I go almost like anti-Crystal Palace in a weird way, so that I don't get accused of being pro-Crystal Palace. It's very deep and on many levels.
So back when you were 25 and you're about to go on the air for the first time, right? Those few moments before you get on the air, If you can remember back to like what is running through your mind.
You mean when for the Crystal Palace game, or when I very first went on air, like day one of actual going on air?
Yeah, whatever your very first time, like being, let's say being on camera.
Oh God!
How does it differ from like what's going through your mind on that day versus like today? What's going through your mind when you're getting ready to go on the air today?
That's a really good question. So day one of going on air was when I was 21. I'd been at the BBC for 6 weeks. I mean, talk about sink or flip and swim. And I'm not sure I swam, to be quite honest. But I remember taking the train up to Nottingham where I had to do this report. And I don't think I ate for at least 2.5 days. I mean, I was so ill, guys. I was absolutely, which is crazy. Like when you look back at 21, like, is there any pressure? There's actually not any pressure. If you mess it up, you can just go and like work in Starbucks for a little bit and wait till your next job. It's fine. Like, it's not like I grew up wanting to be a football reporter. I never wanted to be a football reporter, but I have a ridiculous high level of expectation on myself. And so I put myself under way too much pressure. So that day in 2002, when I was 21, that was pure sickness, pure ill, pure sickness, pure. and actually, I have to say, John, it lasted for bloody years. And at times, even now, when I'm out of my comfort zone and I'm about to go on air to do something I'm not sure about, I think, why did I not just like train to sell hot dogs? That would have been such a much better idea. Like I look around.
That's a low pressure occupation,
right? And it would have been fine. I'm sure I could. It would have been fine. And then I got
although
there.
I'm sure some of our listeners who sell hot dogs are probably like, guys, you have no idea the pressure we're under.
It's really hard, right? To say how many can you sell in an hour? I mean, there's so much pressure. But that's how I used to feel. Exactly. And then now when I go on air, it is very different. It is much more, I think it's all about control. And I'm not good when I'm out of control in any situation. Yeah. So 20 years ago, I felt out of control because it just was not, this was all new. And what the hell am I doing here? This was not, I won a competition. Right. What is happening? Why you put me on air on network television? I'm 21. What the hell? Now I'm like, okay, I got this. Like, it's kind of like home. Now it's like home. Yeah. Back there was like, alien land craziness.
Well, when you were 21, I mean, you did have the added pressure of like, it's one thing for just like, you never thought that you would do this, and here you are, you found yourself here. No, it's like BBC has said, I'm the best. They did a talent search for football reporters, and I won. So I better be good.
Yeah. But don't worry, guys. The era of political correctness was just coming in, and in the final of that competition, there were 5 girls and 2 guys. I was like, "Oh, I've got a chance here. They don't want a guy. God bless the BBC. They're coming into political correctness. I'm definitely in with a chance." So I was like down to like 1 and 5. So I mean, there was pressure, and they'd given me a 6-month contract, and it was like, oh, they're going to take it, and it was more money than I thought I'd earn for like the next 10 years. And I was like, this is, it was all a little bit much. But I think that I discovered in myself that I actually work really well under pressure. Thank God. And I think that was one of those moments where I thought, somehow I got through that. And that has happened many times in 20 years. Like, I don't even remember getting through that, but something went on autopilot and I got through it, you know?
Well, too, I mean, you're working in a sport that things can change in the blink of an eye. I mean, to your point about doing that, on the pitch side with Crystal Palace, they lose in the last second. Like, you have to be ready for it in that last minute. I mean, think about the Man City winning the league. Yeah. A decade ago. Yeah. Like, you're coming on hot, and so whatever you had prepared, like, oh, well, Man City bottle it again. Like, you're like, no, okay, and we're back. And here
so that is so interesting, Dave, because in the first 10 years of my career, what you just described literally filled me with horror and terror, and I would over-prepare for every possible outcome. So I'd be at a game and I'd be like, okay, they're winning 3-0, but what if they come back in 3-3 in the next 2 minutes? So I'm like writing like all different like reports so I could just go to whichever one happens. My biggest nightmare would be that there's a goal in the last minute and I'd written a beautiful report at 2-1 and then there's a goal, right? Yeah. So that was awful. Now, weirdly, and I'm not totally sure where it changed, now I kind of like it when it goes wrong, or I like it when there's something crazy, or like the unbelievable happens. But I think it's just because I feel I've been tested so many times and it's all been okay, touch wood so far, that now I just want to be tested. Now, I remember I knew I needed to leave the BBC when I was doing the BBC News 24, which is their rolling news channel. And it's like 20 bulletins a day of the headlines and then the headlines bulletin. It's kind of boring. And I knew I needed to leave when one night I was on air on bulletin number 24 or something of the day. And there was a Premier League game going on, and there was a player down, really badly injured. And I had to give like a live update on this guy who was concussed. Because I said, like, the score is 1-1, but let me just tell you, because I could see the screen, there's whoever it was down injured. And I remember thinking, well, this is fun. I'm not reading a prompter. Oh, I wonder if he'll die. It's terrible. And maybe there'll be a big drama that I can cover. Like, this is fun. And then I realized, like, I don't want to read a prompter for the rest of my life. I used to want to do that because it was safe. And then I had the moment where I was like, I don't want to do that. And I don't use one now. And when I do have to use one on the Olympics, I find it really constricting.
John, it's enough of that. It's enough of that. I need a break. Okay, can we just get some coffee?
I know. Oh, did you say coffee?
I did.
I mean, I heard you, but I want you to say it again.
Okay,
I love that.
I'm slowing down,
listen,
John. I'm slowing down.
Today's episode and my morning cup of Joe, which is kind of the street term for coffee, is brought to you by... Let's sing it together.
Okay.
Methodical. Methodical coffee. Yeah.
That was good.
Yeah, it was
Methodical
good.
Coffee has craft coffee and tea for people of all kinds. Roasted, blended, brewed, served, and perfected by verified coffee and tea nerds like our man, the other half of Dadville, Johnny Mac.
You know it, Dave. And now Methodical has resolved that headache of having too little or too much coffee from your traditional time-based coffee subscription, Dave. With Methodical, you can subscribe by usage.
SBU. Receive a free smart scale that tracks your coffee consumption and triggers your next order right at the perfect time. So you always have just the right amount of coffee on hand, worry-free.
Best part is you can receive 20% off your first bag and 10% off all subsequent bags with no code needed when you try the free smart scale.
John, we also have our very own Dadville
That's right,
blend.
we do.
It's the fuel that gets me going every morning. Also, God's love for me and my children's love for me and Annie's love for me and a small part of McLaughlin's love for me. Filled with hints of chocolate, graham, and brown sugar.
That's right. Methodical, Dave. They're on a mission to connect people to the beauty of life through coffee experiences for people like you. Methodical's been roasting and hosting.
That's what they're doing.
Don't put a G on the end of those words. It's roasting and hosting for over 9 years. That's almost 10 years. They offer a wide selection of coffee and teas, from dark and roasty to bright and funky,
Just say it.
like David
That's
Barnes.
Right. On their site, you'll also find brew guides that'll teach you how to turn your coffee brewing chore can we call it into a beloved ritual. Also, get 10% off your first order of coffee or tea with the discount code DADVILLE.
That's 10% off your first order with the discount code DADVILLE. Craft a cup you'll love with Methodical Coffee.
Roast and host.
Dave.
John, we all love summer, and our kids especially love summer, but we lose that consistent schedule of when kids are in school. And that can create some summer childcare problems.
You know what? Thankfully, though, Dave, there's a solution.
What?
Windy. That's WYNDY. Listen, it's an app that connects families to college student nannies literally in minutes. These nannies are background checked, interviewed, and honestly, just awesome, Dave.
That's right, John. And Windy has been around for 7 years and has been used by over 20,000 families. There are hundreds of qualified college student nannies on Windy near you, working full or part-time.
All you have to do is go to windy.com/Dadville to start searching for a nanny. And as a special offer, they're going to knock off $50 off your search if you go through that link. Windy provides top-notch service, but at a fraction of the cost of traditional nanny agencies. And no ongoing fees.
Okay, so here's how it works. Go to windy.com/Dadville to start your search. A Windy concierge will find great matches for your job and set up interviews for you. You can choose the one you like.
Get started now, because there are a lot of parents out there looking for nannies for the summer.
That's right.
Go to WYNDY.com/Dadville.
Well, I mean, that's the thing is watching you. I'm not kidding, Rebecca. I genuinely think about this when I watch y'all's show. Somehow there's no stepping on other people's lines. Like if it's you and Tim Howard and Robbie Musto, like as one of those triads. Like it's just I'm always like, how is she able to manage like ending the question, let them talk, they're fully done talking, now you talk, and now it just flows so well. And I think y'all have so much rapport too. But I'm always amazed because I just think especially if I was nervous, I think I would just like keep talking. I just keep asking different versions of the same question all in a row.
I've been there. I've done that when it's like you've got a minute, and I'm like 30 seconds later, I'm still asking the question. I'm like, oh, this isn't good.
Yeah.
I need to stop asking the question.
We'll be back with the answer, and when we're back, the answer.
Exactly. I think a lot of that is to do with the three of us are incredibly well honed in this show. We've been doing it 11 years. Yeah. We know that it's in out. It's not long segments. We know that when our producer says you've got 90 seconds, we just know that's a question from me, that's an answer from one of them, that's another question from me, that's another answer, and then we'll see where we go with the last 30 seconds.
Well, you really think like that. Like y'all all think like that.
Oh yeah.
When you get the 90-second, y'all are all on the page of like, okay, she's going to ask, one of us will answer.
Yeah.
And that's why you have to go, Robbie, what do you think? So he knows, oh, it's me to answer this.
Yes, and
Tim.
Yeah, that's exactly how. I mean, I don't actually do the math in my head. That happened the first couple of years. Now when he says 2.5 minute chat, I know in my body / brain what that looks like on television. So I just know how many questions, and I don't think of the questions before because I like to hear what the guys have to say.
Wow.
So I have my opening question that I might have thought of a few seconds ago. So I'll open with a question, but after that, it depends on what they say as to where I go next. So I think that's just live TV. But I think it's also down to the fact that we've worked together for so long that we know each other very, very well.
Yeah. Okay, I have another question. This is one of my favorite things about you is you are such a joyful, positive person to watch on the show. Like you really are. I mean, you can hear some of your F-bombs and stuff that you don't think people can hear, and you're whispering, but I'm
no, you can't.
No, but I do think I'm telling you. But like the thing that I've followed Arsenal for probably about 13 years, and the thing that I've found with the English culture, and I've been over a few times to see games. We took our kids last 2 Christmases ago, and it was so fun for the West Ham game, which, by the way, we went down 1-0, and I was like, I have brought my kids for their first.
Well, it was the day after Christmas.
Yes.
We were there, pitchside.
Yes.
Yes. I thought it was like oh my God.
And Wenger was at the game. Remember, that was his great return. So we went to that game, and I literally thought, I have flown my family over for a game that we are going to lose, and it's going to forever. And thankfully, we came back and won the game. But, like following that and pundits and people, and I've really like trimmed my list down to who I follow because people just get but the English are so bad about everything is so doom and gloom all the time. It's like, if you've won, we barely won, and we're going to lose next weekend. And if there's just so little like positivity and excitement. And so, but then I watch you and I'm like, see, there's this shining hope of an English woman who's like, no, we can smile when we talk about soccer and we can enjoy a win.
I think you're spot on with the culture, because I think the big shock, one of the many shocks my husband and I got when we moved to America 10 years ago was like, why is everyone so happy? Like, what are you all so happy about? You're so weird. Like, and the other thing that we talk about a lot is, and I said this before, but like you get in England, right? You get to a Friday night, it's down the pub, right? Saturday, I spent my Saturdays probably in front of the TV, if not at Palace, and then in front of the TV watching like kids TV and maybe play a bit of football in the garden, and then that was it, right? Sunday was just like maybe at the park, at the maximum at the park, right? Not like a fancy park, just take the football down there with a couple of sweaters, jumpers for goalposts, and just at the park. And then like maybe a piece of chocolate cake on a Sunday afternoon. That's as exciting as England gets, right? In this country, right, Friday comes, let's pack up the car with our flipping surfboards and our kayaks, and you see the families driving, and they go to Tahoe, and they're on their flipping, what are those things that they do, paddle boarding, and then in the afternoon they're flipping skiing, and then they're having brunch. You guys are like, let's live. Like, you're so into living. And so I think that England does produce these people, just not that many of them. And so when they do produce one, and then you lift that person out of England and you put it in America, which I'd like to think is me, I'm like, oh, this is my people. These are my people. Yeah. And so now, I'm seeing like,
I do have to say, when Americans meet you guys and we hear that accent, we just, there's something about it. We're just so excited to meet a Brit. So I think you have a little bit of a false sense of American enthusiasm just because everyone's so excited that, oh my gosh, you have an accent. We love it.
Yeah,
I know, but also honestly, you guys are just so lovely. Americans are just so lovely. I eat everywhere with customer service, at restaurants. Hey, you have a nice day. And I know that people are like, oh, it's just crap, and they're just saying you have a nice day. But I don't know. I'm here for a little bit of fake you have a nice day.
Well, I think
I
again,
agree. I agree.
Right?
The thing that is so particular about following an English club is that, like, because Arsenal has had until a couple of years ago, like it was tough. It was a tough run. It was tough sledding for a while, and I would find that I had to have this discipline around just like not getting online. Because I would, somebody would post like, we lost again. And I'd find myself halfway down this article or even just a tweet. And it'd be like, this is why we're the worst we've ever been. And our players are terrible and we should sell them all. And I just feel this. I mean, I had to like go for walks because I was like,
Dave,
geez,
but you
Louise.
understand though that in all seriousness in England, like your club is like a member of your family. So it's so tribal and like family and deeply rooted in the blood that if they do lose, it is slightly like a family bereavement. And I mean, let alone if they get, I mean, Palace have been relegated a number of times. And it's like, Palace being promoted those days are at top 10 of my life. I mean, of my life. And this is just them getting promoted from the Championship to the Premier League. So you have to understand that this is everything to these people.
And I don't know that Americans on the whole, like, you've got like your Yankees fans and things like your Boston Red Sox. But a lot of like our teams, we don't have the history that you guys have. Like they just literally have not been there. Like I'm from Indiana, the Indianapolis Colts. I've only been the Indianapolis Colts for like, I don't know, 40 years or something like that. It's not that long at all. We just don't have that history.
You do that crazy thing. Also, you do that weirdly crazy thing of moving clubs. Like, let's just take the Oakland A's and put them in Las Vegas. What?
Well,
I know.
So that's the thing. That's the thing, Rebecca. And I think for anybody who really likes soccer or, football, whatever you want to call it, it is such a necessary thing to go to England to see it. Because I think, like, I've been able to go 3 times now and see Arsenal play. But, like, we went to a Chelsea match, which I was terrified, by the way. A buddy was like, I got some, I took my kids and I sat them outside the gates because it was Chelsea versus Bournemouth or somebody. But it was just like, come on, we got to go to another, and I sat my 2 boys down and was like, listen to me. If you say anything about Arsenal, they will kill me in front of you and you'll have trauma the rest of your life. And so we sat in the supporters section. My boys were hearing, it sounded like prison stories. It was just like they're going to be forever, but when you go, you realize to your point, Rebecca, great. Like, you look at these clubs and they are in a neighborhood. Yeah. They are, like it would be literally like walking out of your front, for people who are listening who don't know that culture, it'd be like walking out of wherever you live right now and across the street is the bandstand. Right. And so this is not just a club, it's like you said, it's a rhythm of life. It's in your DNA. It's in who you are and all those things. And that's the thing. And I was going to tell you too, I wonder how much you think about this because this sounds really pedestrian potentially, but it's true. When you grow up in America, like my sons, when they watch English soccer, when they watch Arsenal, they are used to a 9 o'clock game or a 6:30 a.m. game or potentially a 2 o'clock game. So the way they think about their day is sort of like we get to watch it in the morning and then our day goes, right? So if you win, you have a great day. It's like the rest of the weekend. Like me and my buddies joke about this all the time. Like your weekend is great, right? But you watch it in the morning. So it's light outside. It's like you're just waking up. It's like, and I'm telling you, this is probably crazy to hear, but when we went over there again two Christmas ago, like I remember specifically coming home one night and the Man City game was on. And I was like, oh, let's watch the game. And I remember it was like one of the most confusing things in my body to sit and watch a game at night, real time. Yeah. And it was an English club. And I just remember any of my boys were kind of like, this is weird. I was like, I know, like it's dark on the screen. It's dark in the outside. It was just like this. But it's such a different experience for an American following an English club because just the rhythm of it is so differently. Like I laughed with one of my dear friends, a guy named Eric, who I follow Arsenal with. Like we text 100 times a day about these things. And he was like, isn't it weird that if you were English and you lose a game at 9 p.m., you just go to bed? Like you can either sleep it off or it's worse because you can't sleep and you're mad. But like as Americans, you have kind of like the whole day to process it and sort of get it out of your system or celebrate. And so even those little rhythms are different, which I'm curious with you, you're coming on in the morning where when you were in England, the BBC, it's like you have your 3:00 game and then probably your 7 or 8 o'clock game, right? And so yeah,
I mean,
it's got to be a different thing.
Yeah, I used to, before I came over, I was the pitch side reporter for ESPN UK in the Premier League, and we had the 5:30 p.m. UK time game, which is at 12:30 Eastern. And so I would spend the whole day prepping, reading articles. It would be like build up, and then finally there'd be kickoff at 5:30. I wouldn't be out till 8. Then I'm driving home 3.5 hours, and it was like a huge day, a long day for one moment in the evening. And then I move here, and the alarm goes off at 3:30 in the morning, and like we're almost done by 10 a.m. And I'm like, oh my God, everything's done. It does continue to be very weird. It definitely does. I mean, I'm much more used to it now. But I feel like that's why it's so successful. Because it has, or one of the reasons, right? One of the reasons. Because you just described to me your Saturday morning routine. I can't tell you, Dave, the number of people who've described their Saturday and Sunday morning routines to me with their children. And in fact, there was one guy, I'll never forget it. I went to my high school reunion, my 20-year high school reunion. Weirdly, I went to a high school in Pennsylvania for 1 year, long story. And I went back for my 20-year high school reunion 5 years ago. And he was 20 years older than me. And he said to me, you really gave me something with my boys because now they're at college.
Wow.
I know, right? I mean, I was a mess.
Come on.
But he said, we grew up, they grew up. I think they were like 6 when I started. I mean, how old am I? And now they're at college. And all throughout their teenage years, they got out of bed in the morning. They came downstairs and they watched it with their dad. Now they're at college. They now watch it at college, but they text with their dad because they're still like, that was our watching partner, right? Yeah. And I think there's nothing else. There's crappy cartoons and there's nothing else to watch on a Saturday and Sunday morning. And it's like that period of time before the kids go and play sport or after they come back from sport. And it fills a real gap when there's no friends around and it's just family. And I think it's created something really special for families across America. Yeah, I definitely think
Isn't that? I love that.
Yeah.
What a great take.
Yeah.
That's a great take.
I wanted to say quickly, well, first, for the listener, for those, I'm kind of getting into Premier League soccer late in my life here. So I'm just
By the way, sorry, John, I just have to jump in. Dave, is it only me or is John a spitting image of Jordan Henderson?
Well, I'd never tell him that because I'm trying to get him to be an Arsenal fan in any other club that he. Don't look that up, John. Just assume he's an Arsenal guy and follow Arsenal.
Look that up so
he
bad
looks
right
just
now.
like him. He looks just like him. It's like put me off this whole time. Like it's Jordan Henderson on the call. It's so weird.
I'm never gonna not be able to unsee that now.
So
I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing.
It's a brilliant thing. Just you. I mean,
people always say I look like Thierry Henry, so that makes sense too.
Well,
Sorry,
thank you.
John, I
Thank you. I take that. No, you're good. But I wanted to say for the listener, relegated, because you brought that up a couple times. So for the listener who doesn't know what this is crazy. And I think it would make every sport more exciting. It would be like in the NFL, if the Indianapolis Colts, for example, have a bad season, they then are no longer in the NFL. They're in the, minor leagues for a while, and then they got to work their way back up. So I just wanted to say that for the listener. But back to Dave's point about sort of like the broadcasting in the UK culture being a little more doom and gloom, and then you being this, bright sunshine of positivity. I mean, you are, I'm guessing, you've been very, very successful in a pretty male-dominated field. And is that conscious or subconscious? Like, obviously, there's an unfair double standard for women always, pretty much. Are you like, I can't be doom and gloom, or that won't be acceptable for me? I'm a woman. I need to be more positive. Is that conscious at all?
Oh, that's a really interesting take. No, not conscious. I wouldn't say that's conscious at all. I think my family and friends would say, like, that is just who I am. I am very kind of like, I am very positive. I'm a bit of a jump out of bed in the morning, have lots of energy, don't stop talking. My husband's like, oh my God. Like, so I think that is just me. That has never crossed my mind. Yeah. No, I don't think so. No, I don't think it's conscious. No.
Good.
It is cool. Go ahead.
Sorry, I've got a little lag here. Do you feel like when you came on the scene, the culture has changed quite a bit in regards to, women being in the workplace?
In America, I think it's always been pretty good. I think it would be nice to see some more female hosts, because I think, John, that we see a lot of sideline reporters, and trust me, I've been a sideline reporter. Sideline reporting for me is the hardest job in the business, right? So I'm not denigrating that at all, but I don't see that many female hosts on American sports. Where are they? Why are they not being given jobs? There's a lot of men out there being given them, and I know they're good enough, and they are going to be good enough. So that's a bit disappointing, if you ask me. So in this, but I would still say America is way more ahead culturally of females in the sporting landscape than England was when I first got here. England has caught up, and it is a lot more normal to see females on the screen doing sports in England now. Much, much, much more normal than when I first started 20 years ago, when it was like weird. I remember being at Arsene Wenger press conference at Highbury. Arsenal had just played, I can't remember who. I went to do the game. I had to go to the press conference after to ask a few questions. And I was, number one, terrified. I was like 22. And there are, 75 male journalists in the room. And I arrive and I'm at the back. So, of course, I put my hand up to ask a question. And when I start asking the question, they are so shocked that there's a female voice in the room. No joke, guys. 75 men's heads swivel to look at me. And I'm trying to ask Arsene Wenger a question, which in itself is really hard. And then you suddenly have 75 men turn around and look at you. Those days are so long gone, thank God. Where we are now, it's not, the amount of pre-match and post-match interviews that we play out now are usually done by women on our show. They come from the UK, obviously. They're usually done by women. So that's a great thing. I just think in this country, if we could get a few more of those big sports, like Monday Night Football, or I might be wrong, but I just don't see that many women in the host's chair with men on to their side that they are kind of in charge of. I don't see that much,
Yeah, I've been really proud of how much soccer has, from the linesmen. I know they have like more refs now in the league that are women, and you know what I love? I'm just so proud of the world for this. But like, I think for a lot of people, there was a moment where it was like, oh, it's going to be a big deal, and it just happened to no aplomb. Like it was just like, yeah, she's now that, and I'm like, that's a big win for us.
Can you imagine? First of all, who on earth in God's name would want to be a referee, right? Number one, why would you want to do that? So thank God that there are people who want to do it. So, having lived in England for 32 years and witnessed the abuse that they get in the stands, right? To then be a woman and say, I'm really good at this, and I think I'm going to go for it because I'm actually really good and I should be able to. I think that is brave beyond. That is so brave. I took abuse as a pitchside reporter, but to take and I wasn't pro either team, but to take abuse as a lineswoman, assistant referee, fourth official, or referee is next level. I'm so proud when I see females doing that. So proud.
Yeah, it's a huge. Well, I think, and too, what's crazy is to think that John and I were talking beforehand. You've kind of become the face for a lot of people of like English soccer in America, and so it's Tim and Robbie, all the people that do it, they're great. But I think it's funny because when people think of those mornings, they obviously think of you because you're the host. And so that's like a superpower play in that way that I think a lot. Like my kids, when they think, English, when they're like, oh, Rebecca Lowe, well, she's going to be the host. And so it's fun to think that way too, that's kind of a nice little subterfuge, that it's not just a bunch of dudes sitting around, but it's, you're such a big part of that experience is really cool to think about too.
Well, I appreciate that so much. Thank you. It really has been 11 years of like, did this happen? Like when I came over here and I thought, is America ready for the Premier League? Are they ready for a female UK host on top of the Premier League? But it's exceeded all my expectations, and it's just an absolute dream.
That's so good to hear. That makes me so happy.
Lifestyle, cocaine.
John, why are you doing an Australian accent?
Was that?
Was
it Aussie?
Australian? I think so.
I thought it was a little British.
Great. Can we do
like an expat
accents? We should do.
I'm doing a Brit in Canada.
So we talk about the ad.
Yeah, sure.
Let's do it.
Let's see how I lost it on that last.
Sure. It was good till there.
Okay.
Yeah.
Dave,
Yeah.
can I talk about something?
Please do.
In an American accent?
Yep.
When I used to think about thinning hair, I just always assumed that it was a hereditary thing.
Yep.
Oh, you knew where I was going with that. I just thought there was nothing I could do about it.
Yeah.
Turns out,
There are many factors, actually. Yeah.
there are many factors that could be a part of the issue. Things like stress, nutrition, lifestyle,
yeah.
podcasting.
Yeah, neighbors. That's right, John. That's why I love Nutrafol. Nutrafol is the #1 dermatologist-recommended hair growth supplement with over 1 million people seeing thicker, stronger, faster-growing hair with
That's right.
less shedding.
That's right. Your hair is never just about your hair. And Nutrafol knows that. That's why Nutrafol takes a whole body approach to their hair health. I can't even say it because I believe in it so much.
You're so excited, John.
Addressing the problems inside to help hair grow on the outside, supporting
what
your
they do.
lifestyle, not just your hairstyle.
And with Nutrafol, building a hair growth routine is simple. Purchase online, no prescription or doctor's visits required. Free shipping and automated deliveries ensure you'll never miss a day. See results in 3 to 6 months.
Take the first step to visibly thicker, healthier hair. For a limited time, Nutrafol is offering our listeners $10 off your first month subscription and free shipping when you go to Nutrafol.com and enter the promo code DADVILLE.
Nutrafol.com, spelled Nutrafol.com, promo code DADVILLE.
That's Nutrafol.com, promo code DADVILLE. Hello, Dave. Wow.
Okay, yours was better than mine. Johnny,
Thanks.
are you loving this warmer weather? Summer is just around the corner.
Dave, I am so glad that you brought that up because the weather has been so great. I'm playing tennis, right? I'm sitting outside on the porch in my tennis shoes, going for walks in different shoes. I don't
I was going to
walk
say
in
that's
tennis
just too
shoes.
far.
Yeah, I mean, it's so nice. And honestly, I don't really want to be spending too much time in the kitchen making meals because there's so many other good things to do outside.
John. That's where Factor comes in. You can fuel up with Factor's no prep, no mess meals, so you can spend more time outside.
Okay, it sounds good, but Dave, let me ask you a question.
Okay.
Can I meet my wellness goals in time for summer with Factor?
I hope you've got goals and then more goals, John, because we'd call you Cristiano Ronaldo. Soccer joke.
Heyo.
And guess what? And then some, John. It's going to be just fine. Factor has chef-crafted meals with options like Calorie Smart, Protein Plus, and Keto. And Factor's fresh, never frozen meals are dietitian approved and ready to eat in just 2 minutes.
Dave, that sounds so awesome. You've talked me into it. I'm ready.
Wow, that was easy.
I'm ready to kickstart my routine with 35 different meals and more than 60 add-ons to choose from, Dave. Did you know that? I'm educating you now. And these are restaurant quality meals like filet mignon, right? Shrimp, blackened salmon.
Enjoy
You know?
effortless support for your lifestyle. Choose from 6 menu preferences to help you manage calories, maximize protein intake, avoid meat, or simply eat well-balanced.
Head to factormeals.com/dadville50 and use the code dadville50 to get 50% off. That's 50% off your first box plus 20% off your next month.
That's code DADVILLE50 at factormeals.com/dadville50 to get 50% off your first box plus 20% off your next month while your subscription is active.
I was going to say, when Dave and I are musicians, so we have a lot of musician friends on, and we always, and one of my favorite things to ask them is terrible train wreck on stage moments. It brings me so much joy. And I'm sure in your time, you have to have just endless lists of like pitch side interviews gone sideways. I mean, do you have any gems you can share with us?
I mean, I would.
Other than you crying, by the way, which is still I just want to pause for a second to say my Arsenal heart, my fan heart. I'm reaching out to you to avatar our hearts together to know that you sitting there side, and you're having to just last second, which is the worst way to lose a game, because you're kind of like, you're prepared for the draw, ball goes in, and then you've got to be like, Rebecca Lowe here, reporting from Crystal, and like just
and
inside, it's
relegated, relegated, and I've just witnessed it live on network television. So that was bad. I've had a few. I mean, I make mistakes every week, so luckily my producer and my fellow guys on NBC pull me out of any big ones, but when I was interviewing, I remember, a number of things. I remember this awful moment, which I still occasionally comes into my head and I just want to puke. I feel like, what were you saying? So I was working for ESPN and it was an FA Cup game. And I want to say it was like fourth round. It wasn't that far down. And Steve Bruce was the manager. And I think he might have been Birmingham City at the time. And it was at Tottenham and they'd lost. And I hadn't, at this point, it was before I'd gone to ESPN and become the pitchside reporter for the Premier League. So I didn't do a lot of this instantaneous post-match interviews, right? Which, as I go back to saying, hardest thing in the business. So there I am, nervous as hell, right? Literally, stomach is like coming out so ill. Steve Bruce, who I've heard is really nice, right, walks in. I'm told he's really nice, such a nice guy. It's gonna be fine. He walks in, and for some now in England, there's a phrase that we use when we joke about like, oh, it's a Mickey Mouse tournament. So like, oh, like you joke like you get knocked out of the FA Cup. It's all right. It's a Mickey Mouse tournament, right? I decided to say that to Steve Bruce. He just lost like 4-1 to Tottenham in the FA Cup, God knows what, 5th round. He walks in and we're getting ready for the interview and I went, oh my God, I actually feel sick thinking about it. And I just went, oh well, so it's a Mickey Mouse tournament, Steve. Like, who says that? That is so unprofessional. Like I think I was trying to like relax him and make him smile despite the fact he'd just been hammered 4-1. And he looked at me like, who the hell are you? Get out of my face. You are just not, you do not belong here. And the interview he gave me was tough. Like it was bad. Like it was just like, it was bad.
Those interviews, those interviews right after the game, I have so much empathy for those interviewers, because what a nightmare of sitting there with someone who is just bereaved beyond experience, especially like the higher up in the tournament or a Champions League interview where it's you just lost, like, and then you've got to go like, tell us about the game.
I mean,
like what went
the
wrong?
hardest ones were Sir Alex Ferguson for the first couple of years when I joined ESPN. Genuinely, the very first time I ever interviewed him, I was standing in a tunnel at Old Trafford, and they said, somebody in my ear said, he's coming. And I looked down this little hallway where the dressing rooms are, and I could see him in his suit. I can see it now, guys. I can see it now. He was walking towards me, and genuinely, my little knees knocked together. Like, they were shaking, like properly my little legs. And he walks out, and he is the hardest interview. For the first 2 years, he was impossible. For the 2 years after that, we became pals. But those first 2 years, I didn't eat. Yeah. I wanted to I rehearsed and rehearsed and rehearsed. But the thing about rehearsing interviews is you've got to listen to what they're saying. So you've got to be able to pick up on something and go in a different direction. Yeah. Otherwise, you're not very good at your job. Yeah. And then like post-match, if they'd lost, I'd be like, oh no. I used to want United to win just so that I could do Sir Alex Ferguson. Yeah, just so the interview. And there was a period where they would like drop points, and he was just so difficult. And it was... there was times where I remember opening an interview with him after they'd drawn at Birmingham City, and I said something. I asked him a question, and then my second question was something like, "Do you feel that Wayne Rooney was isolated up front tonight?" Because he was, and he shouted back at me. He said, "Were you even watching the game?" And I was like, I don't know whether I should actually answer. Are you actually asking me that? Or is this like, are you mad? So I just kept the mic. Somebody once told me, just keep the microphone under their mouth. If you just keep it under there, then the onus is that they've got to talk. You're not talking. So I just didn't say anything.
That's
I just
genius.
kept it under his mouth. But there's some tough. I also called Cesc Fabregas. I managed to call him Sex on air as I opened it. So that was fun. That was fun. So that didn't go viral at all.
And then he winks at you, and you're like, "Uh-oh, I've started something I don't mean to do."
Oh, it was so embarrassing. And I didn't even correct myself, because I thought I'm going to pretend that I haven't even realised I've done it. That's clever, because then
you're just plowing through life.
I called you Sex live on air. I mean, oh my God. So yeah, I've had a few. I've had a few, guys. I've had a few.
That's unbelievable.
Yeah, so bad.
So how do you feel about the Olympics coming up? I mean, this will be I didn't count all of them. This is like your 8th Olympics
No,
or so?
I think maybe
Crazy.
6. I think it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah, 6 Olympics. Yeah, I'm excited, guys. You know why I'm excited? Because it's not somewhere where I have to do the night shift. I have done the night shift to the previous 3 Olympics because Tokyo, Beijing, Pyeongchang.
Yeah.
So I'm going to get to see the light of day. And I know Paris pretty well because growing up in England, it's like over the flipping, half an hour over the water and you're there. So you go there for 10,000 school trips. So no, I'm just excited, and I just love the fact that the fans are back, because in Tokyo, as much as I love the Olympics, there were no fans, and it was awful.
That's
Do you remember that?
I forgot about
that.
So
bad. Same with Beijing, no fans. So we've got fans back. It's going to be Paris. It's going to be daylight. It's going to be croissants. It's going to be a winner.
We just slowly see you getting bigger as the
Oh, and baguette, without a doubt.
Do you how much research do you do? I know you just called the Kentucky Derby.
Oh God!
Are you how much are you researching all the things? Are you just winging it?
No, God,
I'm sure you're not winging it.
I'm just not one of life's wingers. I just don't wing anything. I like to over prepare everything.
Yeah.
I'm a total and utter geek.
That's a lot of work.
It's a lot of work. So the Kentucky Derby was a lot of work. That's now, but I try very hard to compartmentalize and don't think too far ahead. So I've only been concentrating on the Kentucky Derby and the Premier League. Now I'm end of season, because we're going over to England next week for the final day.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yes, might be at Arsenal, I guess.
Don't do that.
And then I've got 2 months, so I'm not doing too much prep until the season's finished. And then we get sent incredible. I mean, I don't know how many sports there are. I probably should a lot. We get big, thick books on every single sport.
Jeez.
So
wow.
thousands and thousands of pages. And I get my schedule where I pretty much know which sport I'm covering on which day. So I try to kind of cover the first week and just read lots and lots and lots and lots of reading and making sure that I'm across the biggest names in Team USA. That's the most important thing. Because, but not forgetting always that people who tune into the Olympics don't know hardly anything. So it's not like I have to be this expert, because it's not like I'm doing NFL where people watching are experts. Hardly anybody is an expert at rowing. Nobody really knows that much about rowing.
A great
thought.
So
even the people rowing barely know.
Right?
Yeah.
They're like, what are we doing? No. So
where are we going?
Where are we going?
Why are we going backwards? That's what I always think. Why don't they just row forwards? It's so
Where are we going?
Oh, so funny.
What a
So yeah,
great-
Where are we going? That is funny. So I try not to get too deep in the weeds on these things and try to become big storylines.
So you're doing like you said, you're doing Paris. You're going there because how long are you there?
3.5 weeks.
Okay, how do you? So obviously you're a mom, but you're part of our Momville month. How do you do family with that? What does that look like?
So it's not easy. It was easy. So my first one, he was 3.5 months old, Teddy, my little boy, and I went to Rio. Yeah, Rio was the Summer Olympics, and it was a situation of I'd never done a Summer Games. I'd only done the Sochi Winter Games, and it was like, do you want to go? And I just thought, he's 3.5 months. I don't know whether that's damaging or not. I can't take him because of the Zika virus at the time. And I also knew taking him, remember that? Yeah, there's always something before every Olympics. But I also knew taking him would professionally is not the right thing to do, just for me, because I need to very much separate work and home. So I left him with my husband and my mum, which I do believe somewhere on my heart there is still a scar left from that day that I had to leave him, which was so hard. But of course he has no idea. And the funny thing is, guys, they still tell you everything about kids, right? So I did Rio, I did Pyeongchang, I did Tokyo, and I did Beijing while he's been alive. In the Beijing Games in 2022, he was 5.5, nearly 6. And I recorded 22 bedtime stories on my phone. I know. I mean, mum of the bloody year.
I was going to say.
Yes.
And every single day, and they were all his favorite books. And every day I sent one to my husband and he played it at bedtime. Jeez. And about a month ago, I said to Teddy, who's now just turned 8, I said, well, darling, I have to go to Paris in July and mummy's going to be away for a few weeks. But, you've done that before. Remember when I did the Beijing and I sent you those bedtime stories? And he just said nothing. I went, remember those bedtime stories? And he was like, no. No. What? No. I literally
You're like,
recorded
I spent
22
hours recording those, and you don't
Hours.
remember them.
None of it. Zero memory on any of it.
No.
I mean, he literally has no memory. I know. So I sort of feel a bit better now because I have spent so much of my life, as so many mums do who work and who don't work in different ways, have guilt, with so much guilt. And
Oh my gosh.
going to Paris, I'm not going to record any bloody good night stories because he obviously doesn't care. But no, I'm going to find it. I'm very much going to find it hard because I think actually the older he gets, maybe it's now harder because he's more aware of time. And it's funny because I said to him last night, gosh, second grade, you're nearly done. That's like flown by because of course when you get older, everything flies by. He's like, oh, it feels like I've been in second grade for years. And I thought, oh crikey, that's what's so hard because when I say to him I'm going to Paris for 3.5 weeks, to him that's like a year.
That's forever,
You know, so it's really hard. I don't have an answer other than the only thing someone said to me a while ago was really interesting, which I thought was great, was this might help some of your listeners. In 5 years, if I didn't go, if I said to NBC, you know what, I can't leave my kid, I'm not going to do Paris, I'll stay home. In 5 years' time, Paris will come up in conversation, and I'll say, or somebody will say, oh, Mum, I could have gone to Paris and done the Olympics, but I didn't. And he'll say to me, age 14, why didn't you do that? And I'll say, well, for you, darling, so I could spend more time with you. And he'd be like, well, that was ridiculous. That was a silly decision. What? You should have just gone and done it. Oh
He's like, well, you should have just gone. You could have recorded the bedtime stories for me.
Right? And you know as well as I do that kids, in a funny way, that he will turn around and say that to me, like, well, that was stupid. Why didn't you just go? And I'll be like, oh, you're kidding me. I lost that whole opportunity. So I have to remember, because I don't remember as a child ever looking at my mom walking out the door and going, can't believe you're going to work. Can't believe you're going to work leaving me. Like, it's just work. Yeah. It's just job. And like, I have to remember it from that side of it as well. I think he's going to be fine. He's with his dad. It's not like I'm just like leaving him in the street. It's fine. But the funny thing is, guys, as I'm sure you've talked about this before, when my husband had to go to England, he went to Southampton to assist in the under 23s academy team. Yeah, in 2019, which was amazing. He just went. It was like they lost a coach and they asked him to come for 4.5 months. So he went over 4.5 months. I didn't get a single person, or he didn't get a single person like, what are you going to do? Like, your husband's going for 4.5 months. He gets questions all the time, like, your wife's going for 3.5 weeks. What are you going to do?
Yes.
It's just amazing, this world.
It is.
This world.
So I've got like a logistical question almost about, you said earlier your schedule now is you're up very, very early in the morning, 3:30 you're up. And then you're doing your thing, and your day ends 10-ish.
3 o'clock.
You said, yeah.
Are you in LA, by the way?
3 p.m.
3.
Well, yeah. So I'm in Northern California, sort of just out towards past Sacramento, towards Lake Tahoe. That's where I live. But the studio's in Connecticut.
Right.
How does that work?
I fly. So on a Friday lunchtime, I take my kid to school on a Friday. That's really important to me. And then I jump on a plane from San Francisco, and I fly into JFK. And then I go to, and then I go to bed, and then I get up at 3:25 a.m. every Saturday morning, which actually is midnight in my head. And I do the show. We're on air at 7 a.m. We're off air at 3 p.m. Back to the hotel to talk about compartmentalizing my life. Focus on Sunday show, go to bed again, get up at 4:30 on a Sunday, do Sunday show, then go to JFK and get the 5 o'clock flight back to San Francisco, and then come home.
Let me just say something really quick. On behalf of every fan, and I mean every fan that watches you, thank you for your service. Holy cow! I didn't realize you did that.
Yeah, but guys, where we live is so beautiful. And the problem was that when I had my boy, my husband had just got a job as head coach of the Sacramento Republic. And when he left England, he was manager of Luton Town when we left England.
Oh, yeah.
So he had to resign to come with me. And I was like, well, when we got here, I was like, it's not fair. Like, I have this amazing career. How can we restart his career? So when he got that job in Sacramento, I was like, well, we're all coming with you. I just found out I was pregnant, so it was tricky. But when we moved, we had the baby, and then, what it's like with kids. It's like, now I've got a mum group, and I've got friends, and he's got school and soccer. And also, we live in California. It's like the nicest place in the world. So it's fine. I just separate mum, and then I'm mum. From Sunday night all the way to Friday morning, I'm a stay-at-home mom. So it kind of
So, and I guess too, just really quickly, I think you've got your summer off.
Oh yeah,
so you get to breathe with the English Premier League stuff. Then,
yeah, if there's no Olympics, I literally get 3 months off.
That's so great.
And it almost matches up to his final day of school and then his first day of school. So we have 3 months together. There's not many people can say that.
That's so great.
It's kind of it's highs and lows,
that's a
right?
great
with
setup. But your body clock must be like, where do we live? We're trying to get homeostasis here. What is happening? I'm just imagining you like Monday night, bedtime, which we can, as parents, we can all agree, bedtime is the trickiest because you have no energy, you have no patience, but you have just flown across the country. You got up at midnight or whatever time you got up. Time's not even a thing. And then on Monday night, I mean, how are you doing bedtime?
Well, Monday night is not easy. I'm not going to lie. My bedtime is immediately after Teddy's on a Monday night. That is certain. But it's better. But guys, it's better than when he was a baby and I used to fly back on a Sunday night. And because I had the mum guilt, I used to get home at like 10 p.m. And then I would tell my husband, I'm doing the 1 a.m. feed. I'm doing the 4 a.m. feed. And he'd be like, please just sleep. No, I'm doing it. These crazy mums that we are. And so now, at least I don't have to do that. So now I get home on a Sunday night and, I sleep on the plane all the way home because my show is tiring.
Of course.
I'm tired. So I have like 4 hours sleep on the way home and then I get home and then I have another like 9 hours sleep. So I'm good. By Monday,
you're gone. You're just gone. You're gone. Okay, one more quick question, then we have the lightning round, so buckle up for that.
Okay. Oh, God.
The last question I want to ask is, being English, your husband's English.
Yeah.
You live in the States.
Yeah.
How, like, when you think about growing up in England versus America and your son, like, are there things you're like, we're going to implement these English things here, and then, man, we're not there? How much are y'all doing that sort of juggling match of, like, because it's both y'all, because, like, with Lucy, when we had her on, like, her and John, John's American, she's English, there's this give and take, and she's like, I really like this, but we're okay with that. But, like, how much is that factoring into his experience as a kid in America, knowing he has two English parents?
It's really interesting. It's kind of a suck it and see as you take it year by year. We go through stages of calling them, or I go through stages of calling them pants and then trousers like the next week. And I'm like, I'm creating a bilingual child.
In the same language.
I'm teaching him another language. And I can't quite decide. On balance, he is American with English blood. That's how we see it. And by the way, we are now citizens as well.
I know that's right. Yes.
So we really think it's important. Before we had him, Thanksgiving was like, what are we doing? What is this? Like, we're having turkey at like 6 weeks before we have turkey again for Christmas. What is going on? Like, this is so weird. Who are we thanking? What's happening? Ever since we had Teddy and he's learned about it and told me about it when he gets home from school. Now I'm like, right, everyone round the table, what are you thankful for? We're so American. And, I said it before, but like, on my front door right now, there is an Easter wreath, which I've got to take down. Like, how late am I? But I do the like crazy American decorations.
Yeah.
So we want to try and give him, I want to try. And I think my husband, we on the whole, we agree. He's probably a little bit more like, we should try and like have some English stuff. But it's kind of hard because we live in deepest America. We're not in like New York where it's quite sort of, multi whatever. Like he is really only exposed to like small town California, America. Yeah. But I'm okay with that because that's who he is. And yes, his two parents have different voices and accents and are from a different place. And we take him there a lot and we show him a lot. We teach him a lot. But the funniest thing was he went home back to England and he went with my mum to stay with my mum for a day. She lives in Ealing in West London, right? Which is pretty, very, very urban. And they have a local park. But you can't go to the local park if you want to drive unless you can only park between 3 and 4 p.m., right? So there are also speed humps every like 10 yards in London, okay? So and you have to go 20 miles an hour in London. You can't go any higher. So my mum was like saying to Teddy, like, let's go and take the dog for a walk, but we can't go until 3. And he was like, what? Why? She said, well, you can't park. You can only park between 3 and 4. So they are in the car. So already Teddy apparently said to her, like, you just have to stay indoors until 3 o'clock in London. That's crazy. And then you're like locked in. And then they get in the car and they're driving. And he said to my mum, why are you driving so slowly? She's like, well, you have to. It's 20 miles an hour. And they keep going over these humps. He's like, what are these bumps? Like, everything is so weird to him in England. He thinks that you have to stay in your house until 3 o'clock and you can only drive 20 miles an hour. So we're trying to expose him that this is the world we came from. It is quite different. But ultimately, guys, he is American. He is going to grow up and he gets more American with every passing year.
Yeah.
And we're okay with it because we are so grateful to this country for so many things. So long live America.
Is he a Crystal Palace fan or where is he there?
That's where he's very American because he's a Crystal Palace fan. But this morning he's gone to school with an Ipswich Town shirt on.
Wow!
I know. My husband is friends with one of the owners, and so they sent him a shirt, and now he's wearing an Ipswich shirt. I'm like, he has 20 shirts. This is very American as well, I would say. I think there has to be a cutoff. I think when he's 12, I'm going to say to him, all right, enough of this absolute rubbish. Yeah. You are all in on Crystal Palace. You've got to take off these other ridiculous shirts. So, he's Crystal Palace with Brentford as his number 2 because my husband played for them.
Husband played them.
That was his first team. So Brentford are very much the number 2, which I'm allowing, even though you're not really allowed to teams. But he's Palace first and foremost because he's a mummy's boy.
It was really fun as we were leaving England whatever that was, a year and a half ago. I'd never seen, and that's the thing that's so fun about London is you have just so many of those clubs are just packed in that. I mean, it's a huge city, but there's just so many clubs there, right? And as we're leaving, heading toward the airport out west, we passed the Brentford. That stadium is gorgeous, and the boys were freaking out because you're just not used to. There's a stadium, and then another mile. There's another one, and But that stadium is gorgeous.
That blows my mind how many stadiums there are.
Everywhere
in a tiny little area,
and that's just Premier League. You're not even thinking about the Championship, League 1, League 2. I mean, in the size of like New York City, it would be like, or maybe New York would be like the boroughs. It would be like having 15 major clubs. It's crazy.
Yeah, it's nuts. Yeah. And two, like we tried to go to a Fulham game a couple years ago, me and my buddy Micah, and it was crazy. Like getting there. And you're just kind of walking through a neighborhood stadium, and you're like, good gracious, it's out of nowhere. I mean, it just shoots out of the concrete.
Yeah.
Okay, so lightning round, buckle up. And by the way, I'm not going to tell you how much fun this was because I'm going to start crying and getting emotional, and then I'm going to say sex, Fabregas, and we can't turn around at that point. Okay, so lightning round. My son Ben wants to know who wins this year. Just please say Arsenal. Just please. Awesome. It's not going to be Arsenal.
There we go. You heard
I've got a feeling there's something magic happening in the water. That's all I'm going to go with.
I got to say this quickly. I did the math the other day. I don't know how. Maybe it's a dumb American. I just had me and my son Ben were talking about this yesterday. I said, Ben, do you realize that if Man City wins out before next Saturday and we beat Man U Sunday, it's going to be a game day decision? Like if Man City goes down and lose, we win on the. And I was like, I wasn't prepared emotionally for that morning.
Can you imagine? You won't be able to get to sleep the night before. It'll be stressful.
No, I can't. Anyway, okay, that's it. So I'm glad you said it. Arsenal. Okay, go.
Okay, so obviously, America, NFL is huge. We've got our sports and we've got our fans and all that kind of stuff. But what would you say that Americans miss out on in regard to English soccer?
Relegation. You know what they miss out on, John? They miss out on jeopardy. There isn't enough jeopardy in American sports. In my opinion, we need more jeopardy. We need the games, including Major League Soccer, to mean more earlier in the season so that there's still stuff to play for by the end. And relegation makes everything better.
Gosh, come on.
I agree.
I want to run through the wall. Okay. Would you rather, buckle up for this one, this is especially for you. Would you rather Crystal Palace get Champions League qualification or win the Carabao Cup?
Wow. I'm going to go Cup.
Okay. Because it's a trophy, right?
We've never won a trophy. We won the Zenith Data Systems trophy in 1994, but that's not really a real trophy. That was like a made-up trophy. So if we won the League Cup,
trophy, some say.
It's a Mickey Mouse trophy, John. It's a Mickey Mouse trophy. I like it. I'm going to go. I mean, it'd be amazing, Champions League, but Cup.
Yeah. Okay.
Wow.
All right. If you could have dinner with any 3 footballers, alive or dead, who would they be?
Oh, good Lord. George Best. Defo.
Wow. Yep.
David Beckham. Of
course.
You can count him twice if you like.
Yeah, I'll have to.
Him and his hair.
David Beckham, George Best, and probably Sir Bobby Moore, who won the World Cup with England and West Ham and died early and was just an amazing player and person. Mm-hmm. That's what I go for.
Oh, proud of those answers. I was ready for a Crystal Palace player, but there's no judgment.
I know.
There's no judgment. What English thing do you miss the most? Like, what do you miss the most from England?
Some of the supermarket, like some of the weird foods that everyone thinks is weird, but we really like. Just like a nice roast dinner and some sausages and mash and like a, toad in the hole and some spotted dick. Like, I miss that. But also, I also miss, this is what I really miss. I miss everyone being on the same time zone so that everybody is doing the same thing at the same time. So that when I ring a friend, she's also doing the dinner time. She's also,
I did not know that. Behind. Everyone in the UK is on the same time?
Well, yeah, because we are smaller than California. So our country is very tall and narrow. And so everybody, therefore, is on the same time zone. I mean, most countries in Europe, I would say, would be on their own time zone. I don't think there's many in Europe other than Russia that is big enough to have different time zones. Oh, yeah, no, we're on the same time zone. And that means as well, because we're all in the same time zone and the country is so small, we all have the narrative is the same in the country. Whereas in this country, unless it's the Super Bowl or the election or the Olympics, it's kind of that's it, right? Everything else is like state by state, what's happening in your state. Well, even if there's like a huge murder trial, unless it's like, O.J. Simpson, it's not going to gather everyone together. In England, what's on the news and what's on the front page of the newspapers is what everyone's talking about. If you're watching the final of American Idol or whatever, everyone's watching the final of American Idol. It's much more, everyone's together. And I do miss that a lot, I have to say. That narrative, that same thing. Yeah, I miss that.
That is a great take, by the way.
Yeah.
That's great. Okay, 2 more. Here's one. What could Americans learn from the British? Ooh.
Well, I could get political, which is probably not ideal, so I'm not going to do that. What could Americans learn from the British? I mean, they could learn that when you have breakfast, right, we're not touching the syrup and the pancake, and then we're touching the egg, and we're having egg near it, and then we're touching flipping, like, melon, right, is touching bacon, and it's all on the same plate.
Yeah.
That is so bizarre. I'll never understand it. Americans, do better.
Yeah,
and eat beans on toast.
You heard it right here. RL coming in hot.
We're out of control over here. All right, last question.
You are.
Some would say that's why we left England, by the way.
That was kind of it. Yeah, that's the straw. If you wrote a book on motherhood, what would the title be?
Oh my gosh, The Juggle Struggle.
Wow, you had that queued up.
Struggle.
Well,
you did have that queued up. Are you working on this book?
I have thought about it. I probably shouldn't have given away my name, should I? Because now someone's going to steal it. But it makes sense.
I'm also imagining some footballer does that as like his technique to learn how to juggle the football, which is a whole other...
True.
Rebecca, you are the best. Thank you a million times for doing this. It just made our day.
You're so welcome, guys.
And listen, if you do go pitch that on Arsenal, if you could either get some of Saka's hair or a little bit of the grass and bring it back to me as a Ziploc bag.
Got it. You got it. I'll just go and pluck it out of Saka's head.
That's right. Thanks.
Well, good day to you. It's Joel with The King Country dropping in to let you know that our brand new film, Unsung Hero, is in theaters now.
It's Luke here. We've teamed up with the creators of Jesus Revolution to bring you this adventure of a lifetime. It's a powerful, true story about a family uniting, growing in their faith, and facing the impossible together.
In theaters now, unsunghero.movie for more information.
Rated PG. Parental guidance suggested.